What's going on there, folks? Good Friday, or good Saturday evening, I should say. December 5th, 2020 is the date, about 8:22 p.m. West Coast time here in California, with the latest quake on the globe. Off the coast of Italy out here, a 4.0 earthquake striking in this region of the world, where we have seen quite a bit of earthquake activity over the last 24 hours or so, including that 5.3 that was felt throughout parts of Israel, just south of Turkey out there. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute, but zooming in to that latest quake on the globe, 4.0. You can see that earthquake out there. This one here showing up pretty deep, folks. On the Earthquake 3D globe, it was also showing a well-raised ring off of the surface of the globe, 452 kilometers below surface. This is an extremely deep earthquake. In a kind of a strange area to see that much deep movement out there. So something brewing for sure in this region of the world. This sits off the coast here. Looks like they got it off the coast about 85 miles or so. From Nepal's, you got Vatican City and whatnot up to the north. Not a huge earthquake, but some definite movement going on out there. Here's that 5.3 that struck south of the Turkey coast area. Also felt out there in parts of Israel. And that quake there, somewhat deep as well. Not as deep as the other one, but looking at about 82 kilometers below surface for this 5.3, which was followed up a little bit later by a 4.1. Of course, this activity a little bit on the older side, but nonetheless worthy of the mention as we're seeing movement continue to progress to the west here. And when we see that deeper earthquake activity, it's something to take note of. I mean, that's pretty significant when it comes to the depth of that earthquake. Out here in the Pacific part of the plate here, you can see a couple 4-pointers out there in Japan. This is still not some significant movement. In fact, over the past 48, 60 hours or so, it's been relatively quiet throughout this region of the world. We still have not seen any type of major movement along the western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. And that includes sections down south here around the Samoa and the Fiji Islands area. Very, very ominously quiet out there as we speak. We'll skip Hawaii for now, but we will come back to that. Zooming in to Northern California. Not a whole lot happening to the north part of the state. Down south, a little bit of activity. We did see a couple 3-pointers out there, kind of triggering some nerves. 3-pointer out there near the San Diego area, just off the coast of San Diego by about 10 miles or so. 14 kilometers below surface for that quake. Also another 3-pointer, 3.7 to be exact. Up here well to the north inland on the Pacific Plate side here. Kind of out there in the mountainous area, if you will, right around that area where we've seen a prior cluster of quakes over the last day or so. Not specifically around any type of named fault systems that I could tell, at least according on this map here to the USGS, but yeah, definitely an obvious sign of impending pressure in the south part of the state. The latest quake here off the coast of Santa Monica at 1.7 USGS has this 18 kilometers west-southwest of Malibu, California. And that's we don't see a whole lot, folks. We don't normally see a whole lot of earthquake activity off the coast like that. So I believe we're still looking at potential movement down there in the southern part of the state. No swarming aside from these little quakes here near this 3.7 that struck there last night. A couple small little microquakes in the circle there. No major movement along the southern part of the San Andreas Fault yet. No swarming to mention as well. Over here around the Ridgecrest area to the north, pretty much your standard typical aftershock activity even a year later, right? It does continue for quite some time. This could no doubt continue well into next year. Nevada still seeing a pretty good swarm of activity there right around that 5.1 earthquake that struck there a few days ago. course, this is all an aftershock sequence of the prior 6-pointer that struck out there earlier this year. Still some major plate adjustment, fracture, or major fault adjustment, I should say, in this area following that 6-pointer. Up here to the north in the Idaho area, that's pretty quiet. We're looking at some decreased activity up there around the Sawtooth Fault System. Diminishing, if you will. I still cannot access the Yellowstone network up there. Kind of odd. But according to the USGS right now, we are not seeing any type of earthquake activity that is taking place there. So in order to view any potential earthquake activity, I do have to monitor and pull up the live seismograph stations there in the park so we can see what's going on there. I do have a couple live stations on the seismograph live stream, but to take a look at over the past 24 hours, you got to pull up one of these maps here, and unfortunately that is not really showing up here on your side, and I'm not for sure why. Let's see if I can get that to open up in a different window here. Stand by for 1 second. Yeah, it opened up in a completely different window, so maybe that's why. Let's go ahead and paste this right here. Click enter, and there we go. Voila. So that's the latest seismograph station there, right around the Yellowstone Lake area where we had been seeing that swarming. Not a whole lot of movement, folks, over the last 24 hours or so. So any type of swarming that we did see out there in the Yellowstone area is now diminishing and calming down. The earthquake activity that's taking place out there around the... I did want to cover this here real quick. I know we've seen that 5.3 out there south of Turkey. This is the earthquake history catalog from the USGS, showing some bigger earthquakes since about 1900 or so. You can see the region of Israel and whatnot, definitely prone to some larger earthquakes. In fact, a pretty significant quake struck back there in 1927, a 6.3 out there around the Dead Sea area. So this area, no doubt, an area that can see some significant movement there. This is called the Jericho earthquake back in 1927. Struck right around the Dead Sea, created some havoc out there and destroyed quite a few buildings and whatnot. Some casualties to mention as well. So definitely an area that can see an earthquake or two throughout history on a devastating level. Let's see what else we got here, folks. As far as the globe goes, or at least the flat scale map. Ooh, look at that. 5.1 striking out there just as we speak. Red circle out there indicating that specific earthquake out there in Japan. This is still not any type of significant movement out there. I mean, yes, it is kind of a moderate sized quake, and there is earthquakes no doubt taking place out here, but the USGS only shows 4.0 and above. So any type of earthquake that's under 4.0, regardless if it's in Japan, Philippines, New Zealand, it's not going to show up on the USGS map, including, even if I were to put this in the all magnitudes, it only shows the all magnitudes there in the US, which is really not much of a mention tonight. Pretty quiet out there. Let me jump into Hawaii real quick while we're here. USGS does cover that, right? Quite a bit of earthquake activity right around that 4.1 that struck yesterday. You can see some microquakes popping off there in a pretty shallow area of the Mauna Loa region. Kind of watching this closely here. I believe this is just some land movement. We haven't seen any type of GPS abnormalities. There we go. Let me spit it out. Abnormal conditions that would show any type of magma movement underground. Right now, these are very shallow quakes, and I believe that 4.1 that struck is just these are just a result of that 4.1, so to speak, just aftershock activity. But nonetheless, still monitoring this area, as we all know what created the Big Island out there and the island chain. So definitely something to monitor. Kilauea volcano, different story that sits down here. Even though we're seeing quieter activity today, we're still seeing some deeper movement, and still watching that for potential magma intrusion back into the area. Latest quake on the map here, 1.8, 31 kilometers. That's the area that we need to watch for potential magma movement. We've seen a couple deeper earthquakes out there indicating potential magma on the move out there on the southeastern part of the island. Rest of the area looks pretty quiet. New Zealand region down here to the south, once again, 4.0 and above is not going to show up on the USGS map, so we need to go over to the GeoNet New Zealand earthquake map to view any type of earthquake activity that's taken place there in New Zealand. This here is from the geonet.org New Zealand website. Pretty cool website to check out if you want to check out localized earthquakes there in the New Zealand area. It shows the last earthquakes over the last 365 days that may have caused shaking weak or greater in the New Zealand area, with a limited 100 earthquakes on the map displayed. But you can take a look at over the last couple hours or so, last 24 hours, even the last couple days. Not a whole lot of movement. We're looking at some light earthquakes there, 3.6, 2.5 and whatnot taking place in the region. Just not a whole lot of movement to mention out there in the New Zealand area, but nonetheless this area is prone to earthquakes, right? They do get earthquakes out there, and they are variable when it comes to the depths. Just looking at this map here, you can see a couple deeper ones there. Even though it shows weak, 3.3, 61 kilometers. Looks like 25 kilometers east of the Milford Sound region. In various areas out there, they do see some earthquake activity, but just not as often as certain regions are seen here. So yeah, most of the activity, at least according to this map, looks as though it's in towards the northern part of New Zealand, near Wellington and up south along the coast here, or I should say north and over along the coast. Haven't done a whole lot of research on this area. I may have to pull out the studies a little bit and research this area when it comes to plate tectonics. I did get quite a few viewer suggestions on covering this area a little bit more in detail. I appreciate the emails and whatnot that I got for that request. I'm going to study this area a little bit more and include those in my update videos nightly, and take a look at the specific plate tectonics in this region. So also, I did mention my email last night. earthmaster@gmail.com is the website, or my email website I should say, where you can reach me when it comes to any type of suggestions, any type of comments. I do read them specifically, and well, I tell you what, they come in much more quicker, and I reply to every single email I get out here. Comments, not so much. It's kind of hard to get caught up on the comments when it comes to the amount of comments on my videos. It's kind of hard to catch up on everyone. So the easiest, quickest, a firm way to get a hold of me is through my email. earthmastermail@gmail.com is the email you can get a hold of me on. Taking a look at the trimmer department real quick. A lot of activity picking up into the northern part of Oregon and southern, or at least right around the Seattle area. Looks like a couple small tremors being reported. Not a whole large scale movement out there along the Cascadia. Just about 90 tremors or so over the last day. What else we got here, folks? There is a Saturn conjunction coming up here. You guys should really check that out if you get a chance here. Potentially putting a video together when it comes to the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter on December 21st, winter solstice 2020. It's going to appear as a larger star, or a larger, well, these are planets obviously, but it's going to be much brighter, much larger when it comes to looking up at the sky. There's a lot of historical mentions about this in past times, but biblical times and whatnot. Potentially putting together a video in regards to this activity. I will not include it on this update tonight, but the video itself may be coming out here soon. And for those of you that are interested in learning about this, it does include a lot of religious activity, religious mention. So for those of you that do not want to hear that, you're more than welcome to bypass that video when we put it out. But a lot of folks are inquiring about it, and a lot of folks are religious out here on the channel, and I don't want to limit the amount of subjects that we talk about here on this channel. We mostly talk about earthquakes and whatnot, right? Volcanoes, space weather. But when it comes to significant alignments and whatnot, when it comes to the stars and the planets and signs in the heavens, it's something of worthy. It's something of worth to mention, especially when the viewers are more than requesting the information. So that'll be coming out here possibly over the next couple days. But either way, religious or not, this is definitely going to be a sight to see up in the sky. I seen it tonight. It was pretty cool. Pretty neat to see. You know, obviously we're not looking at it that close right now, but they are trailing each other. You got Saturn kind of chasing Jupiter, and the conjunction will be the closest right around December 21st, 2020. I'm hoping that we have clear skies. Here in California, we're looking at, well, we've been dry. We've been high pressure and dry for a very long time. We haven't seen any significant rainfall since way earlier this year, if that. And it's looking like it could stay dry for a while, but towards the end of the month we could see a pattern change that could inhibit the viewing possibilities of seeing this conjunction. I hope not. I really hope not, but we'll see what happens here. What else do I have to cover here, folks? I think that's pretty much about it when it comes to earthquake activity. As far as solar flare activity, we are still monitoring some regions out there. Let's go venture over to the spaceweather.com website. Kind of more updated at the moment. The areas that we're watching is this four circled areas down here in the southern part of the hemisphere. Some ramping up, if you will, of solar activity and solar flares. But at the moment, the possibility of any type of threat is very low, very minimum, with only a, you can see right there, Class M flare, very low. Any other flare threat is non-existent at that. So, but we're watching, folks. I mean, the sun is coming back to life. That's all. It's awesome. I love it. I want to see the sun come back to life and produce many solar flares, as that no doubt has an effect on everything that's taking place here on Earth. So, all right, folks, have a good night. Like I said, the latest quake on the globe at 5.1, kind of ramping up over here on the Pacific side. I expect that to continue, no doubt. It's been all too quiet over the last couple days there, so we'll see how the plate tectonics play into action over the next 24 hours or so. Please stay safe, folks. And as always, what do we got going on at Mount St. Helens here? Hold on one second. See some activity showing up there on the seismograph of Mount St. Helens. Let's see what's going on here. We'll wait for the update to pop in here. Activity there at Mount St. Helens has not been. Let's go ahead and zoom in here to the PNSN website. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. Go back to the trimmer. You can check out the seismograph stations here right at the dome of Mount St. Helens. Pretty cool website to check out. Image not found, of course, right? Check out a couple other seismograph stations within the vicinity and see what they have to offer here. So that right there is some type of adjustment on the instrument. This is not earthquake activity, just instrument adjustments there. And that, not for sure what that is, but we can check back. And of course, what? They don't want to show it. On the 4th, anyway, there we go. Looks like potentially a smaller earthquake there. Get off that. What in the world's going on here? I don't want to print it. Okay, that was at 3.5 near Tillamook. Okay, so that kind of showed up pretty nicely on the Mount St. Helens seismograph station there. But this one that's coming in, I'm not for sure. It may be some type of interference. It looks like it has updated. We'll check it out and see. Looks like potentially an earthquake in the area. It definitely registered here. Oh, it's coming up around the bend right now, so hold on 1 second. As we get up here, it's just a couple seismograph stations down right below this one here. See that little seismograph reading popping up there. So we'll go and check out. I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but we'll check out and see if the USGS has popped up anything in the Pacific Northwest. This is going to be underneath all magnitudes, if anything. But I'm not seeing anything new at the moment. There was a couple small microquakes around Mount Rainier, but we've seen that on any given day. Nothing new. No changes in magnitude. Mount St. Helens, as you can see right there, pretty quiet. But we'll see if they mention it. Anyway, folks, have a good night. Please stay safe, and look for that video if you guys are interested in learning more about the significance of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction and the role that it plays in the significance of the two. Check it out. Okay, it will be coming up here in the next couple days here, hopefully. And till then, have a good, safe night. And we'll chat you guys a little bit later. Peace out.